Well, you can definitely tell the difference between you and Telly Savalas. Did you notice that picture there?
Yes, because he never knew where to get the toupees, you know.
Okay. Bob Braun, a very special guest today on our program, and as you've already heard, this is a week in which we are saluting the legends of Cincinnati television.
I don't know why I like that idea of legend. That kind of makes me feel like I'm 105. And I was not a waiter at the Last Supper, in spite of what you may have heard.
So tacky. Well, how old are you, Bob? Come on.
Somewhere between 40 and death.
Okay, gotcha. Well, legend, we mean that in an affectionate, complimentary way, for heaven's sakes. Hey, you have some very special friends, all of whom have shown up here today, a number of whom have, but who worked on your show. Dick Murgatroyd is here.
He was producer of our show for 16 years and the best producer I ever had. And if he were still there, we'd probably still be there as well.
All right.
And with him is the lady who was my assistant for 18 years, Rhodey Bender, whom I dearly love, and my wife is well aware of the fact. She is the love of my life, and Rhodey, talking to you on the phone was not nearly as nice as seeing you today in person.
We're glad you're here. Aren't you glad he's here?
Thank you.
Okay, now I don't want to wear out the history because we have a question or two, but I want us to set this now in a historic perspective here, Bob. Okay. You have to do that since you're a legend, you know.
Okay.
57 is when you went to the 50-50 Club.
In 1957, in February, I went to WLWT, and I think it was around in April when Ruth asked me on her show. And then Willie Thal had left, and she used me, Peter Grant, and a young man named Sid Doherty. And the three of us were billed as the Three Musketeers. He and I were on her show 1 day a week. Peter was on 3 days a week. And that lasted until the summertime. Then Sid Doherty left the station. Then it was Peter Grant and me, and he had 3 days a week, and I had 2. And then Ruth one day called in at 11:45 in the morning, said, "I'm not coming in today. I don't feel well." And Elsa said to me, "You're doing the show." She and Mickey Fisher. And I said, "I'm doing what?" "You're doing the show." "Miss Lyons is not coming in today." It was 12:30 before the microphone would stay still. I was scared to death.
This is a photograph of the casted crew from the 50-50 Club.
No, that was when Candy was there with us as well, and that's Peter Grant in the back, and that's Cliff. And on the left is Bonnie Lou. There's Candy, there's Ruth, and Bonnie Lou, and then Ruby.
Cliff is wearing the same coat, Bob.
Ruby is at the extreme right, and I must tell you about Ruby. First of all, she put me on her show first when I got there, and also her husband was ill, Barney Rapp, and when Ruth had retired, and Ruby had planned to leave the show. And when Ruth retired and left and I was there, she knew it would be a rough year for me that first year, so she stayed, even though she had not planned on it, a full year. She said, "I just don't want it to look like I left because Ruth did, and I think you'll need to help." And she and I today are probably, no, I don't have a dearer friend than she, than her and her family.
That's wonderful, wonderful. We're going to meet your dear friend that you know extremely well, a dear friend of yours here in a matter of moments as well. We have a question. Joycey is with us, with the audience. You have a question for Bob?
Bob, our audience is fairly bursting with people with questions for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Shirley has one.
Hello, Shirley.
I just wanted to tell you, the other night we were watching Salute to Ruth Lyons, and they had your picture, and it just looked like Rob sitting there.
Yeah. You expect him to say Channel 12 News? Very flattering.
Like twins, and the hair is true. That hair's gorgeous.
Oh, aren't you sweet? I'll tell you the truth. I am so proud. Well, I'm proud of all three of our kids. Doug's getting married next Saturday night to a girl whom he met in California, and Melissa is a senior in college here in town. And Rob is, of course, here at Channel 12. And we are so proud of him. He's worked awfully hard to get where he is.
Okay, we have time for one more question
Sure,
here?
another question.
Sybil, you want to stand? You have a question for Bob.
Yes, not a question exactly. I was on the Hawaii tour with you this summer, and it was great.
Thank you. We had a great time, didn't we?
Did he behave?
Well, yes and no.
It was my
Hear about the
time.
no part.
He was terrific. I was wanting to know when you're planning a trip to England or Europe.
Well, we've been to England several times and to Europe several times. I've never been to Alaska. And I have a feeling that at this time in which we live now, we need to spend our money at home in one of our own states. So we're planning a cruise the end of June next year to Alaska for 10 days, leaving out of San Francisco. And Barney Rapp Travel is planning it. And if I can do a real quick commercial, if they, for those who sign up before the end of the year, you save $150. So we, see, you knew I'd do a commercial within minutes, right?
Bob, yes.
But it's next year, 1987, to Alaska, so we're going north to Alaska.
All right.
We'd love to have you with us. Thank you.
We're glad you're here this morning, too.
And you read that just the way I wrote it. It's beautiful.
Great job. Perfect. You passed the audition. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Ruby Wright is going to join us. Don't go away. All right.
Wasn't the Summer Short was a Ruth Lyons hit. It was recorded